Welcome to another listicle. Today we're going to be going through Wild West games. Kind of because Red Dead Redemption 2 got delayed, and I'm so upset that we didn't get to see anything from E3, but c'est la vie. We'll get to see it eventually. But there are a bunch of westerns that you should play before this game comes out. I wrote a list about it, of course, on TheGamer, and then I wrote about 7 games that you should avoid that are themed in the Wild West as well. And as always in these listicle videos, I'm just going to be going briefly with what I talked about in my article, not a huge in-depth discussion. In the best category, we have Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Amazing game. I really did not like any of the other Call of Juarez games, but Gunslinger is very cool because it has an unrelated narrative where this old bounty hunter is talking in a bar, some guy is asking what happened in this shootout, he talks about it, and some other guy's like, that didn't happen, and so the whole game changes. It's a very cool, unique idea that I think could be really useful in a lot of other storytelling games. And it's just really slick, awesome combat, and it's cel-shaded, and you know, I love me some of that. Dillons Rolling Western is one you should avoid. It's this 3DS game where there's Armadillo trying to protect this town. It's tower defense. You use the stylus to direct him. You know, kind of a cool concept, an armadillo cowboy, that's great, but just controlling is just really, really bad. Again, for the best, we have Wild Arms 3. I kind of just talked about this in my recent Wild Arms retrospective a couple months ago. 3 is the game you should go for that series, but the whole series is kind of like a Western theme, RPG kind of thing going on, and yeah, it's fantastic. If you want me to talk about that more, check out that retrospective, which I will probably have linked below. Another worst game is Law of the West. This is a Japanese game for the NES. Actually, it came out for the Apple II and Commodore 64 in English, but it was ported to Japan just for the NES. History aside, all you do is you have these dialogue choices to talk your way through these fights, and at any time you can pull out your gun. It's kind of a cool mechanic I talked about in my article that would be great in other games, but as a game itself, it's kind of bland and boring. Plus, I can't speak Japanese, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm picking here. Another best is Westerado Double Barreled. Awesome game that actually kind of uses the mechanics from Law of the West, where you can talk to people, you're trying to find out the killers of your family, and at any time you can pull out your gun. It's fantastic. Very minimalistic pixel art, great, another fantastic Adult Swim game. Worst, Back to the Future Part 3. God, what to say about this game? The graphics are so dark, and it's kind of a memorization game where you're trying to go and stop these time crises from happening. This first one, you're trying to save your beloved from falling off a cliff, which is hilarious because every single time you fail, the doc tells Marty something funny like, oh, we can't fail again, let's do this, and it's just, it's really bad. Best, Dark Watch. This is a vampire cowboy game. Kind of surprised this game never came around again. It was made by High Moon Studios. Now they pretty much work on Call of Duty in some aspect, and that sucks because there was supposed to be Dark Watch 2. But yeah, there are some flaws, but it is a pretty good game. Worst, Lucky Luke. For the Super Nintendo, this was based off a French comic. I don't really have much to say on it. It actually looks pretty good on the Super Nintendo, but it just really bad controls, doesn't really tell you what to do. I made it through the entire first level to the end, but it wasn't ending. It's just very bizarre. It's just bad. If you play it, you'll know. It's bad. Best, Gunman Clive. There are 2 of these games actually. There's an HD collection that came out on the Wii U. Fantastic, amazing art style. In the article, I talked about how it's kind of like Take On Me, but made into a video game, where everything seems to be scribbled as you play it. Really cool, very basic, just fun. Worst, Samurai Western. There's this weird subgenre of westerns that take samurai in the Old West, or take a gunman and turn him to a samurai. Kind of, again, weird subgenre. This does not fit. Cool vibes, but just very, very bad story, very bad accents and language overall, just kind of very clunky mechanics. Best, Red Steel 2. This is actually Samurai Western that does it right, and actually corrects Not only that subgenre, but corrects the first game, which was not good. It was a launch game for the Wii. Very hyped on it, and then it came out, and then everyone was kind of de-hyped on it because it sucked. This one, cell shading, go figure, but the controls are a lot better thanks to the Wii Motion Plus. Just better vibes overall. You got a sword, you got a gun. It's great. Worst, Lethal Enforcers 2. I can't believe we made it through a time where we thought, let's stop making video games with pixel art. Let's actually put real actors in a video game to blow their minds. And at the time, I do remember having my mind blown when I was playing video games and they actually had actors in there, like this helicopter game for the PlayStation. I don't remember what it was called. Okay, so I was tricked, and Lethal Enforcers tries to do that with the FMV or digitizing sprites from real actors. It looks so shitty nowadays. It's boring as hell, and it started in the arcades, and this is just a port for a collection for both 1 and 2. That's that. Best Steamworld Dig. You're this little robot, and it's kind of like a Metroidvania where you mine deep, you bring your materials, you go up to the town, you invest in the town, it gets bigger, and it lets you go back down to below for longer periods of time. You get new abilities to go further and reach new places. It's really fun. I can't wait for the sequel. Worst, The Oregon Trail. Now, hear me out here. The Oregon Trail was made in my home state of Minnesota. Very proud of that fun fact for the edutainment genre. But, and you know, it's fun to play with friends, getting drunk and whatnot, and having a fun go. But I liken it, it is basically the Nicolas Cage of games. Fun to watch and talk about, but not exactly great in the same aspect. Do you understand what I mean? And last but not least, we have Gun. This was a huge marketing push back in the day for PSP and Xbox 360 and the PS2. So many consoles. It is basically what I feel like the middle child between Red Dead Revolver and Red Dead Redemption. It kind of was the first big game before Red Dead Redemption came out that really did the Western genre as a huge open world. It's really great. Again, has some flaws, but Neversoft made a lot of Tony Hawk games, so for them to make this big, huge marketing push for a Western game was fantastic. I think the gamble paid off. And that's basically it. Those are 8 games you should play before Red Dead Redemption 2, and 7 games to avoid. Simple as that. No? No. And of course, needless to say, you should also play Red Dead Redemption, and I guess to a lesser extent Red Dead Revolver if you haven't played those yet. And those are my recommendations. Thank you again for joining me in this listicle. There's a link below. You can actually read my list article on TheGamer, and like I said before, I will also have a link for that Wild Arms retrospective as well. Okay, thank you for joining me, partners. Did you know that was a ReActionExaminer video? If you liked it, you should subscribe to me to keep up with everything that I'm doing. Also, if you have some other interests, like sex for example, check out Tomops, which is a comedy sex podcast thing wherein my best friend and I check out the weird and abnormal and the erotic. And of course you should support me on Patreon because hey, I want to make the channel better and I want your help to do so. Plus, if you want to check out my writing, check out Game Jerk where I have archives and new stuff for all projects, okay? You can find all the stuff and more in the description with the links below. Thanks for watching and I will see you all next time.